It was a typical summer day. People went about their business, grocery shopping, running errands, meeting friends, when suddenly the air shifted. On the news, an emergency broadcast flashed across every screen. A chilling message echoed, "The end is near." The world paused, unsure if this was real or just another hoax. But this time, it felt different. This wasn't just another vague doomsday prediction from some fringe group or conspiracy theorist. This one came from a person who had predicted every major catastrophe in history. This prediction? The end of the world. On this very day. People scrambled. Preparations were made. Churches were packed. Bunkers were stocked. Phones rang non-stop. And countless lives were altered in a matter of hours. Everyone had one thing on their mind. Would this be the moment everything changed? But then, nothing. No massive earthquakes. No deadly floods. No fiery skies. The sun set that night, just like every other night before it. The apocalypse hadn't arrived, and life went on. But who was this person? And why had their prediction, one that seemed to have the weight of truth, ended up as just another failed prophecy? The man behind the prophecy was a self-proclaimed prophet, a mysterious figure who had emerged from the shadows of history with a track record of seemingly accurate predictions. He had warned the world about disasters before. His name was known, but his true identity remained a riddle. Was he simply lucky, or did he have some hidden knowledge? His story began decades earlier in a small, obscure town, known only to a handful of believers. His cult-like following grew as word spread of his uncanny ability to predict everything from stock market crashes to natural disasters. He was the talk of underground forums and late-night radio shows, but most people dismissed him as a crackpot. Then one day, he announced something that caught the attention of millions. He predicted the end of the world, not in some distant future, but in mere months. And according to his cryptic messages, the signs were already all around them. For weeks, the world was transfixed. Governments, scientists, and religious leaders weighed in. Some laughed it off as nonsense. Others took it more seriously. After all, hadn't there been other so-called prophets who had predicted disaster before? And hadn't they too been proven wrong? Yet, despite the skepticism, something about this prediction felt different. The man's warnings didn't follow the usual doomsday script. This time, the details were unsettlingly specific. He named dates, locations, and even described unusual celestial events. There were patterns that seemed to align with global unrest, wars, climate change, and political chaos. As the deadline drew nearer, panic set in. The media, hungry for a story, broadcasted every update. People flocked to prepare. Some moved into bunkers, others sold everything they had. And on the eve of the predicted doomsday, there was an eerie tension in the air. Everyone was waiting for the impossible to happen. But then, when the moment arrived, there was no cataclysm. The world didn't end. The sun rose and life continued. People felt relieved, but also uneasy. Had they been duped? The man's prediction was just another failed doomsday prophecy. Another case of people grasping at straws, hoping for answers in an uncertain world. But while the prediction had failed, it did something more. It exposed a deeper truth about the human psyche. In a world full of unpredictability and chaos, people needed something to hold on to, something to explain the uncertainty. And for a moment, they believed. They believed in the possibility of an end, and that belief caused an emotional and psychological shift in the world around them. And yet, this wasn't the first or the last failed prediction of its kind. Throughout history, there have been countless doomsday predictions, each more convincing than the last. But for every failed prophecy, another one would rise, and another wave of panic would follow. Why do these predictions continue to capture our imaginations? Why do we fall for them over and over again? As we'll see in this video, the strange stories of apocalyptic predictions that never came true are not just tales of failed foresight. They're reflections of our deepest fears, and a reminder that even in the face of the most extreme predictions, we are still searching for meaning in a world that often doesn't make sense. Weeks after the failed prophecy, the disappearance of the man who had predicted the end of the world became an enigma. His vanishing wasn't ordinary. He left behind bizarre maps marked with uncharted locations, including an island off the coast of Alaska that didn't exist. Witnesses claim to have seen him meeting with a mysterious figure days before his disappearance, adding to the mystery. The last interview with the prophet revealed a strange calm, as if he knew the prediction would fail. But as the days passed, odd events continued. Erratic weather patterns and celestial alignments that mirrored his failed prophecy. Something was still happening, something no one could explain. As Sarah examined the prophet's journal, she uncovered a hidden photograph of the prophet with shadowy figures, one wearing a cloak with a symbol she recognized, her grandfather's pendant, linking him to a secret society. The prophecy, she realized, wasn't about the end of the world, but a transformation, a rift in reality itself. The old world was dying and a new one was emerging. But Sarah and John didn't know if they could stop it before it was too late. Sarah and John, desperate for answers, arrived at a decaying mansion on the outskirts of town. The building loomed like a forgotten relic, surrounded by overgrown trees. As they entered, the metal gate creaked ominously, and the air turned cold with a presence that seemed wrong. Inside, a large globe rested on a desk, its surface rippling with strange symbols. Sarah felt the weight of the air shift, the hum of something alive pulsing from it. "This is it," she whispered, her voice shaky. Just as John reached out to touch the globe, a shadow appeared in the doorway. It was Margaret, but not the frail woman they had met before. She was taller, more powerful, her eyes sharp and calculating. "Don't touch that," Margaret warned, her voice cold. "You don't know what you're dealing with." Sarah's heart raced. "What is this place?" she demanded. "This is the center," Margaret replied with a smirk. "The origin of the rift. Reality can be altered here." Margaret revealed that the globe was the anchor, the only thing holding the rift in place. To close it, they had to destroy it, but doing so would sever their world from the others. If left intact, the worlds would collide and chaos would reign. John's voice was desperate. "Why didn't you stop it?" Margaret's face darkened. "I tried, but there are forces beyond us. The rift offers us transcendence, a chance to reshape reality." Sarah couldn't shake the feeling the rift wasn't truly closed, only sealed. Margaret's cryptic words echoed. The rift was never meant to be closed. Life seemed normal, but Sarah sensed unseen forces still at play. What if the rift wasn't gone for good? What if other versions of reality exist? The mystery was far from over. Enjoyed the mystery? Like, share, and subscribe for more mind-bending stories.